Wrapping up our series on self-publishing company comparisons, we're going to discuss two viable alternatives in audiobook publishing. When we look at Authors Republic versus Audiobooks Unleashed. Never heard of them? Well, you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned to today's podcast. What's happening? It's Dale here, and I'm just tickled to death. You took a little bit of time out your day to spend a little bit of time with me to talk about my favorite thing in self-publishing. And boy, I'm excited to talk to you about one last comparison in self-publishing companies. We could probably keep going. I know there's some smaller distributors and such, but at this point, I feel like we've exhausted all the main avenues, and I think you've got enough information to make an informed decision. But before we do get to that, today's podcast is brought to you in part by the fine folks over at Publisher Rocket. Sell more ebooks and books on Amazon. Publisher Rocket will help you get your book in front of more Amazon shoppers so you can spend less time marketing and more time writing. Visit dalelinks.com/rocket to give it a shot today, and all purchases come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not happy, you can always return it. No hassle. Again, go to dalelinks.com/rocket to find out for yourself why I swear by this self-publishing tool. Good reason why I swear by it, I promise you. All right, so what's the deal here? Authors Republic versus Audiobooks Unleashed. Well, folks, they are the alternatives to a couple of the main avenues of Audiobook Creation Exchange, aka ACX, and Findaway Voices. Now, these two avenues have some overlap and some similarities with each other, as well as the previous of ACX and Findaway Voices. But the cool thing is with both of these, they support international rights holders. I'm looking at you, ACX. ACX only allows US, UK, Canada, and Ireland rights holders to publish to Audible and Amazon. But the good news is if you want that distribution, these two avenues can offer it for you. Now, one has the advantage with some unique options. Now, the biggest difference between Authors Republic and Audiobooks Unleashed, Authors Republic will take anything. Audiobooks Unleashed has a vetting process. So they want to make sure that you're not just sitting here recording your stuff on your iPhone and then just uploading it. Nah, they want to make sure it's all really good to go. Now, when it comes to production, this gets really interesting because both of them have overlap in the fact that you can do it yourself. So if you have an audiobook that you've already produced, be it at home or with another voiceover talent on, say, a platform like Fiverr or FleischmanMedia.com. Yeah, that's right. I went ahead and pushed my friend's services, and I'm going to drop the link for that, of course. But you can do it yourself. You can bring it on over there to either one of those platforms. Easy peasy, right? The next is per finished hour. Now, I've explained per finished hour before in depth. Essentially, what is the finished product, the length of your audiobook? Okay, they're going to charge based on how long that book is. Per finished hour is, my opinion, one of the best options, but it can get very, very risky the longer your manuscript is. So if you're an epic novelist, and it's not going to be cheap, it's going to probably cost thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for something that's going to be long, and especially with a more experienced narrator or voiceover talent. Now, there's the other option also through royalty share. Now, Authors Republic, they kind of refer you over to some of their almost like their preferred partners, but it doesn't seem like there's a direct integration into the platform, like a marketplace of sorts. With Audiobooks Unleashed, it seems like they have some people on hand, but I don't know how you're accessing them because, again, you actually have to apply for approval through them. Okay. Now, this is very interesting. Now, with the royalty share, it's essentially what you think. It's a royalty split. Now, with both platforms, to my memory, you can actually adjust how much you do the royalty split for. So in ACX, it's a solid 50-50. For somewhere like Findaway Voices, it's like an 80-20 split, if I can recall. Actually, 60-20-20, I think is how it actually ends up working out. But with these platforms, you can name it. You can go ahead and set that royalty split up. Now, the whole thought is the narrator and voiceover talent takes on all the risk because obviously they're having to take time out their schedule to read your book, make some notes, actually edit it, master it, upload it, all that other stuff, make sure everything's in specs. So there's a lot of work. So they take a lot of risk on something like that. Now, there's one area that's a little less risky for them, and this is only available through Audiobooks Unleashed, and that's royalty hybrid. Now, royalty hybrid is per finished hour plus the royalty split. Now, you would pay the per finished hour up front, of course. So this would be a way to negotiate with a narrator that might be outside of your budget. Let's say, for instance, they're $500 per finished hour. Maybe you can walk them back with a 50-50 split with, say, $250 per finished hour. Now, keep in mind, you still have that split. But here's the cool thing is the narrator and voiceover talent takes on less of a risk by you paying up front. It really helps them pay for some of their costs. In fact, one of my favorite TikTokers actually expresses that, he doesn't just he does the voiceover talent. That's it. He records this and then he sends it over to a studio to where it's professionally edited and mastered. And that obviously cost out of his pocket. So this is something I always think about. Now, this is the part that I think is pretty interesting. No other audiobook publishing platform has this, and this is on Audiobooks Unleashed only. You have something that's called royalty deferred. Now, this is, again, one of those instances that the narrator takes on all of the risk involved, but you pay nothing up front. The narrator gets all the royalties till you hit that set threshold. So let's just say, for instance, your audiobook costs $3,000 to produce. Well, the sales are going to skip past you and go right over to the narrator instead until you've paid that $3,000. And then at that point, it will revert back to, say, a royalty hybrid or a royalty split of some sort. Any of those options, it seems like it's very, very flexible. Audiobooks Unleashed is still relatively new. I mean, less than 2 years old at this point. So I imagine they're just going to kind of fix things out. Now, the part that I liked, and we're staying on Audiobooks Unleashed here for just a second here, because Authors Republic doesn't have this. They actually have a translation service. They can do Spanish, French, Italian, German, Portuguese, and Dutch. Now, the translation costs $50, starting at $50 per finished hour. That's just for translation. That's not for the actual production, because production costs can start at about $150 and go even more, kind of as I had alluded to before. So this is kind of cool. You can get your stuff translated on that platform. Now, could you do it on the other platforms? Possibly, but you'd still need to get your manuscript translated and then edited and make sure it's all good, whereas Audiobooks Unleashed will get you connected with the right person to translate, because I'm sure they've vetted these professionals to make sure that you're getting the best translations possible for your audiobooks. Makes me kind of scratch my head and wonder, could I take that translation and then publish it as is? Because, I mean, $50 per finished hour, you might as well make the most from it, right? So, royalty structure. Let's talk about how royalties work for each one of these. Now, both of these publishers are what we call aggregate publishers. They act as a middleman. Essentially, you upload your content to their platforms and then they distribute it out to multiple avenues on your behalf. In return, they take a cut of your profits for distribution. For Authors Republic, you're getting 70% of net profits. Now, I say net profits for good reason, because it's not like you're getting 70% of the sale price. Each platform or channel that it's sold through has their own agreement worked out with each of these respective platforms. So I'm just going to throw a random number out here. Apple could probably be, say, 45% royalty. So then you would get 70% of that 45% royalty by way of Authors Republic. Now, Audiobooks Unleashed must have saw Authors Republic over there and they said, hold my beer here for just a second. They went ahead and kicked theirs up to 80% net profits. And this is so much in alignment with Findaway Voices. And I think Audiobooks Unleashed knows what they're doing. There's someone behind the scenes that goes, ooh, yeah, we're going to do better. Findaway Voices has got at this point. Authors Republic, where are you at? 70%. And there's also a little bit of a nitpicky point I'm going to get to later on about Authors Republic. But we'll move to that one item at a time. Now, let's talk about pricing. With Authors Republic, it's completely flexible. Now, here's a little bit of a disclaimer. They say, we can't promise every distributor will use that manufacturer's suggested retail price, though. meaning that if you set your audiobook at, say, $24.99 and they distribute to an avenue like Audible or Amazon, Audible and Amazon honestly will make the price based on how long your book is. They don't care what you've put for your pricing through Authors Republic. They will price everything based on the length of your book, which is absolutely the most garbage idea I've ever heard in my life, because not all books should be treated the same. Now, when it comes to Audiobooks Unleashed, I did some digging and I probably should have done a little bit more research and reached out to them a little sooner. I assume it's a flexible pricing model. But again, the MSRP is a suggestion, and that not all platforms like Audible or Amazon are going to adhere to that. Now, if someone at Audiobooks Unleashed can be able to confirm or deny that, please let me know, of course, by all means. Now, let's talk about distribution. Now, here's the cool thing that I see on these two avenues. They have the edge over places like ACX and Findaway Voices. Why is that? Physical product distribution for both. You're saying, wait, no. Do people still buy CDs of audiobooks? Yes, they do. It's still $1 million asset. Like, this is something that sells a lot. People are still consuming CDs. So this means by using either one of these two avenues, you can actually turn your audiobook into a CD. And I think that's really kind of cool. Authors Republic offers over 50 channels. And I'm going to put quotation marks around 50 channels because a vast majority of their distribution channels come by way of Findaway. So this means Findaway Voices is already an aggregate publisher. Okay, so this means that when it goes out from Findaway Voices, each of the channels takes their percentage of each sale. They send it on in, and Findaway takes their 20% cut. And at that point, that 80% gets shifted over to Authors Republic, and then you get 70% of that, and Authors Republic takes 30%. So technically, there's only 18 unique distribution avenues by way of Authors Republic. Now, yeah, they do have the 3 avenues of ACX. So for some reason you can't get into ACX, Authors Republic's for you. They also have Findaway Voices, which is about 30 avenues. But here's the catch. This is the thing that just bothers me so much. You can deselect distribution to ACX. No problem. They're like, hey, that's all right. Any of the other things, it's all or nothing. You can't just simply go in there and deselect the avenues for Findaway Voices and leave whatever's left over. No. Now, unless they've changed it within the last couple of years, last they told me was like, no, it's an all or nothing thing. So I told them to remove my book from their distribution because I don't want them to be the middleman for my middleman. I'll just go straight over to Findaway Voices. And the extra avenues, is it truly worth it? I don't know. To be honest with you, I can't give you an actual educated decision here on this one because I've never been in that shoes because they don't offer that. And I'd rather go to Findaway Voices and not take that risk. So all or nothing, I'm not all big about that. In Authors Republic, I really wish that you would walk that back because even Findaway Voices themselves allows deselecting specific avenues that you don't want to go to. Now, Audiobooks Unleashed, on the other hand, has 60 channels. Yeah, 60. Here's the thing. This is what Audiobooks Unleashed has over the other avenues, and that is they go direct to Audible. They avoid ACX distribution altogether. So some of these avenues go over into Audible by way of ACX. So meaning that you've got a middleman before it goes over to your middleman. And so by the time it comes back to you, you're getting pennies on the dollar. That sucks. Okay, so Audiobooks Unleashed does have the Findaway distribution. So technically they have 11 unique distribution channels plus physical distribution, meaning of course, things like CDs, and a few extras over Authors Republic when it comes to the physical distribution. You can request your own copy of that physical product. That part I thought was really cool. And here's the one, and I don't think I mentioned this with Authors Republic because they actually have it as well, streaming services. Now, with Audiobooks Unleashed, they're still currently onboarding. I'm going to put quotations on that one here. Authors Republic has streaming services, but doesn't differentiate one from the other, whereas with Audiobooks Unleashed, they do differentiate those things. And with Audiobooks Unleashed, you get promo codes. All right, this is the cool part. You get promo codes, not for one avenue, not for 2 avenues, but 3 avenues. You can get promo codes for audiobooks.com, Kobo, and Downpour. Now, here's a little bit of a catch. When you do upload a book over to Audiobooks Unleashed, there's a 6-month agreement for distribution. So as soon as you're there and you're pushing it on out, you're there for the next 6 months. I don't think that's unreasonable. I've had much longer deals. I'm looking at you, ACX. Now, when it comes to payout, all right, Authors Republic does PayPal or direct deposit with an asterisk next to that direct deposit. US only for direct deposit, and you have to have 10 titles or more. They will pay you out 30 days after the close of the month. Now, this depends largely on the channel agreement. Some have a monthly payout and some have a quarterly payout, but they will still pay you out 30 days after the close of the month. So as soon as Authors Republic has that money deposited into the account from whatever channel that might be, you will see it the following month. Now with Authors Republic, they actually have a $50 minimum threshold that you have to meet in order to get direct deposit. And that's 30 days after the close of the month. Same rules. Again, it depends on the channel, on when you see that money. Wow, that was a lot of information, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts when it comes to selecting the proper avenue. But before we do get to that, I want to, of course, give a really quick plug here. Today was brought to you in part by Publisher Rocket. Sell more books and ebooks on Amazon. Visit dalelangs.com/rocket for more details. You don't have Publisher Rocket now. What you doing with your life? A great investment. It's something I've had for a handful of years now, and I've been super happy with it as they continue to build it out and give so many great options for you. dalelangs.com/rocket. My final thoughts. I've got some reservations on Authors Republic. I could probably get behind them a little bit more if they would allow us the opportunity to deselect some avenues that we don't otherwise want to do. And I understand that by having the opportunity, giving that opportunity to rights holders to deselect those avenues creates a little bit more work for Authors Republic, because I imagine they have a systemized process to where you upload it and then they just, boom, feed it all out. It's probably just a press the button and it goes. But I just don't like this all or nothing philosophy, because there might be some avenues I don't want to publish to. Maybe I don't want my book in library distribution. Maybe I don't want my book as part of subscription-based services. And I think just offering the ability to opt out of ACX and that's it, it's really short-sighted. So Authors Republic, you happen to be watching this, I'm really rooting for you. I really want to love your platform, but this is the part that's just really slowing me down. This is why I recommend Audiobooks Unleashed. There's more control. They've got unique production and flexibility with the royalty models. Now, there is a caveat, though. They're still new. Authors Republic's been around for some years now. They do offer streaming services, and some channels are still pending. A little bit of a reservation on this. If you don't come with your own ISBN for your audiobook, they will charge you for your ISBN at $6.50. I recommend you bring your own ISBN if you can, but if buying one specific ISBN is going to cost you, say, $125 as it does over here in the United States, then chances are likely you're probably going to settle for $6.50. They're unclear on a few areas, and I really tried to do my digging, and I tried to reach out to them, and unfortunately, I should have had a little bit more foresight and reached out to them sooner. But they're unclear on some things like the individual platform royalties. Now, this is due to privacy reasons. I think that is not a good look, because at least I can go into Findaway Voices inside my contract and see exactly what those percentage breakdowns are going to be for each one of those platforms, so I can make the choice to say, yes, I want to distribute to this avenue, or no, I don't want to distribute to this avenue. Having those options available is going to be absolutely pertinent. And I understand you have privacy of some of these folks, but here's the thing. These are our assets. We should be allowed to know what we're going to get paid for, and not just put a blindfold on and say, well, I just want to have distribution over towards that avenue. Audiobooks Unleashed, do better. Do better. Make those things available. It doesn't have to be available through the public. You just haven't set terms of service. Findaway Voices does it pretty well. And I'm not entirely clear on selecting or deselecting options. I'm not sure if they're like Authors Republic in that it's an all or nothing philosophy. I couldn't find the answer to that. But overall, both avenues, folks, take a look into them. I think they're both worth it. Authors Republic actually has an excellent rating on the Alliance of Independent Authors watchdog list. Audiobooks Unleashed is probably still too soon to be on that list. I don't know that they're up there just yet. I looked earlier today, didn't see it. But we'll see in due time. And I'll keep you reported on some of those things. Hey, to get advanced access to all podcasts, visit dalelinks.com/YouTube podcast 1 week before the audio content